Awesome. So, David, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right. So my name is David Clavens. I'm the head of marketing at Scoop. Scoop is a carpooling app so that coworkers and neighbors can head to work together. So we specialize. Thank you. Nice to see my brother here. And so we specialize in the commute specifically. So our main model is to go through enterprises, so they market us basically as a commuter benefit. So kind of an interesting overlap with his presentation, where our main buyer is the enterprise, but at the end of the day, the people using our service every day are commuters. So we've got over 100,000 people on the platform. We're Series A and Series B. And we have about 30 partners, which range anywhere from Amazon and Cisco down to people like Workday and Kaiser and folks like that. So we run the gamut.
Nice. So, I mean, at Scoop, what problems are you guys trying to solve? Like, why are you here? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, so basically we feel like the commute is just this waste of time that people basically just give up every day. So our average commute, and I think maybe some people in the room are fortunate enough to either have public transit or they're able to walk or run to work or whatever that might be for you, but we really specialize. I mean, our biggest markets are places like San Jose and Sunnyvale and Palo Alto, where people don't have those options, and our average commute is about 20 miles. So essentially, that wasted time in the car every morning, how do we make that really valuable? By letting you connect with one of your coworkers in the morning or a neighbor and head into the office together. There's a lot of other benefits, like obviously saving money in the environment and things like that, but we really focus on kind of turning minutes into moments every morning.
Nice. Well, I, for one, have to...
That's a good one.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, I have to commute from San Francisco to Mountain View every day, 5 days a week. So I, for one, know the pain of the commute. So definitely applaud what you guys are doing. For those people that don't know Scoop Hack very well, how would one go about finding people to share a commute with? How do you guys do it? Do you have an app, a website? Kind of talk me through that initial engagement with you guys as a company.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And then, by the way, the problem that we're trying to solve not only obviously relates to commuters, but to their employers as well. So the commute is like a top 5 pain point for anybody, right? People choose jobs based on the length of their commute, and so people are losing great talent all the time because they don't want to drive an hour. And so the folks who actually use Scoop, our impact surveys really point to them staying at their company longer, feeling more connected, more productive. So it kind of plays on both sides of the coin.
Great.
But back to your initial question, there's probably 2 ways that you would really come in contact with Scoop. If you work at one of our employer partners, it would be marketed to you similar in a way, really to like healthcare or something like that, where you would hear about it. And so a lot of our employer partners on day 1 of onboarding, it's like, hey, you're trying to probably figure out how to get to the office every day. Scoop's a great solution, and a lot of those companies will actually help have special pricing to make that even greater. So in a Scoop carpool, you can be a driver or a rider, split the cost of the commute, essentially, and so it can be sweetened on either end by the employer. So if you're at one of our partner companies, you hear about Scoop through some form of communication that my team would work on, and then if you're outside of it, you can see a Facebook ad, or you can see a print advertisement, or whatever it is, or hear about our Carpool Park program, or whatever it might be. At the end of the day, everyone downloads the apps in the App Store, hops online, basically pops in their home address and work address, and then can schedule on a commute-by-commute basis. So we've kind of taken historical carpooling and decoupled all of that scheduling. So if you just want to use it on Monday mornings, man, go for it. If you want to use it every day of the week, go for it. You're never locked in. So a lot of our commuters will actually go with different people all the time. But the average Scoop commuter uses us literally for the majority of their commutes.
Great. So you mentioned a couple of things you use for marketing and acquisition in terms of Facebook, Google AdWords. Can you kind of talk me through that marketing and acquisition piece in a little bit more detail, particularly when it comes to marketing and acquiring individuals who would come through paid advertising versus targeting a company to then kind of put it out there for their employees?
Yeah, so I think the coolest thing about just working at Scoop really is that there's the B2C side of the coin, there's the B2B side of the coin, so you kind of can change every hour if you'd like. But essentially, if the model really works, it is the enterprise that we acquire basically getting the vast majority of those commuters on board, which is way better than just, as you mentioned, like using a paid channel that doesn't scale, right? If I can send an email out from an employer and get 500 downloads in one day, that's way more effective than it'll ever be. So we believe that the way to make carpooling work, actually, is through the enterprise as the main source, and then people can jump on board. So majority of acquisition strategy for commuters is through the enterprise, and getting those folks on board is basically through our sales team. We have inbound leads, but a lot of it is literally reaching out to HR, benefits leaders, reaching out to people in facilities who have packed parking lots every morning, getting in touch with them and saying, hey, have you heard about us? So we're raising our brand awareness and profile right now, but yeah, we're growing it.
Nice. So once somebody signs up, they take their first ride, how do you make sure they come back again and again and again so they're a repeat driver, or I guess carpooler would probably be your term for it?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any strategies towards that when it comes to making sure that you acquire loyal customers that come back?
Totally. Yeah. So we think a lot about kind of the journey of a user and how they flow through our system, basically from the day that they hear about it from their employer and they're kind of off platform to the first day that they get on the platform and start. And so I think the real takeaway is to kind of align with your entire business, and I actually report up to that product, because growth is kind of this company-wide thing where it's like they have their top-level metrics and how do we make that happen. So essentially, we build out journeys, whether it's about activation or retention or getting someone to schedule their next trip or whatever it might be. In your case specifically, it would kind of be like, hey, you took your first trip, you gave it a thumbs up, seems like you're having a great time, but then if you go for 5 or 6 days without scheduling another trip, we'll reach out with kind of more churn type materials and marketing, right? But if you do a thumbs up and schedule the next day, like, I'm going to get out of your face because you're pretty much in the product and you're having a good time, and I think the product should do the heavy lifting for active users, and we on the marketing end should actually do stuff when they're off platform. So I think having unification with your team about, hey, here's the space that marketing plays in, here's where sales plays in, and here's where product can do the heavy lifting, it's really important. I'll give you a pretty salient example. So on Wednesday, we won't be operating trips because of Thanksgiving vacation, and we know that a lot of our commuters actually have off on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I could do an aggressive email to basically let them know that. Probably doesn't make sense. If you're an active Scoop commuter, let's use something that's in product. So we use a company called Appleway, well, Braze, formerly Appleway. If you have that software, you know that it's changed. And so basically, right, in-app notification, bam, you know that we're not operating trips, everybody's friends. And so I think it's really thinking about, like, what's the right message at the right moment and using the right mode based on everyone's situations, which are entirely different.
Nice. Do you guys do carpool karaoke?
That's a great question.
I feel like there's a story there, David.
Yeah, I thought the questions were pre-screened.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving on.
We're cool. It's fireside. We're getting more.
We're friends.
So it's an interesting thing when you think about the commute versus being with James Corden or being on the lift line. Like, those are different moments, and so I think that our users are actually talking about things that are like kind of professionally focused. Or we have great stories about people working on something like Sales Navigator at LinkedIn, being matched with someone who uses it from another company, and then having like an impromptu UX session in the morning, right? So there are funny stories about cookie recipes and tennis partners and things like that. We filmed a couple videos back in the day, not of people singing, but just chatting. But maybe we'll go into that territory. But I think you kind of got to know what's right for your brand and what's not. And for us, it's more about executive rides, where we have the CEO of a company get in with a commuter, or highlighting a story about an intern being matched with a VP, and that becomes the mentor for the whole summer. And so we kind of, our viral type stuff are about those kinds of things versus public karaoke. But there's a ton of things. I just haven't found it.
Well, get back to on script then. I'll ask you a question we went through before.
No.
But how does marketing automation fit into all of it then?
Yeah, totally. So I think we have the advantage that people are using us a ton. And so I think that gives you the leniency basically to have a lot of communications because it's relevant. And it passes what I would call kind of the toothbrush test, which is do you use the product twice a day? And so my background was at Google, where basically it was like, I worked on Google domains, where like, you're not buying a domain every day. So like my bandwidth or my, leniency to email you is just not as frequent. But with us, we thought marketing automation was going to be huge for us, and it has been huge for us because we have that right to kind of reach out to our users because this has become really part of their day-to-day lives. So we leverage marketing automation for obviously the new feature launches that go out to educate people in a way that's deeper than what we could do in product, or the key life cycle moments. Like if you're having great trips for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then you give a thumbs down on a random Wednesday morning, that triggers a journey in Autopilot being like, hey, what's going on? So we have the biggest takeaway, I think, like if you're thinking about actionable things to walk away from this chat with, is like we have unified with product to get almost every user attribute passed back in a way that we can leverage it inside of Autopilot. And so like literally we made a hit list, 100 variables, if not more. Like we have so many things that we can target, so many thresholds and percentages. So when your match rate goes below 70%, you're like, wait, I'm not in carpools anymore, what's going on? I can send you the perfect message, and marketing automation, to answer your question, just makes that really possible in a really solid way, and I don't know how we do it with that.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you guys are capturing a ton of data points. So can you talk me through your marketing stack? What type of tools do you guys use? And then I guess the secondary question to that is, how do you get that data into Autopilot to be able to really drive these automated journeys that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially, we leverage Segment as well. And if you're not familiar, like I encourage anyone to go and do research because it's just a great way to kind of have call it a source of truth for your users, the attributes that matter, what they're doing inside the product, so you can send stuff that's really customized. Then we also have kind of a master file as well that's synced basically every few hours, and so that would have your matches and your schedules and all that kind of stuff in it, which can then trigger journeys off the back end. So you've got Segment there, a bunch of Zapier integrations that basically help the data kind of port across. We've got Salesforce IQ for the sales team. We leverage Apple and Braze for in-product stuff, so if you do download the Scoop, that'd be awesome, so we can hit our CPA goal for this event. We gotta bring back the downloads, you'll see that we have this thing called the Stream, and the Stream is basically a really cool feature where in-product is kind of like a news feed, so essentially that's part of the stack as well, where we'll do something and this is cool, so the savvy stuff that I think we do is, if you've opened up an email, then obviously you don't need a newsfeed card anymore. You might just need a push later because you haven't upgraded. So you start to get all these layers that really kind of bring things forward without being annoying, which I think is great. So that's part of the stack. What am I missing on the back end? Landing page testing tools that we use, things like that.
Yep.
But it's not super complex. Like, I'm not one of these 20 tool marketers.
Great. I mean, we use Segment really effectively at our end as well. We use Segment to track a ton of events on our website and also in our app, and then we push that information from Segment through to Autopilot, and we use that to then trigger journeys off the back of it. So what type of actions are you guys tracking in app to trigger your journeys, but specifically actions that you push through the Autopilot by Segment?
Yeah, so the big ones really are just the main interaction in the app of schedules, requests, and then when you match in a carpool or not. So there are some users who live in really dense populations. They're matching all the time. They find their carpool buddies. Everyone's happy. And then you have unfulfilled requests as well. And so those are really the top two. And then it's pretty much every click is logged in Segment. So you can see anything, any page that someone's viewed. So for example, let's say that we've got the community list, which shows your community around you. You can see your coworkers. I can do an email literally in 15 minutes if someone has viewed the community page 3 times but never referred anyone. And so a lot of our journeys start, we do these things called UX sprints, which basically would happen on a Monday, take a business goal, take a business challenge, and then basically marketing, UX, and product are in the room. We say, how are we each going to tackle that in our own unique way? So an example is like referrals, right? How do we get people to share more? If you've taken 300 trips on Scoop, and people have taken like upwards of 1,000, and you've never told anybody about it, like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, what's going on, essentially, right? And so you can use the stuff that we pass back through Segment and just through our syncer, basically, to send a really customized email of like, hey, Eloise, you've taken 100 trips, have it shared, how can we help you spread the word of your company, or whatever it might be. And like, the gems you get back from that are insane.
I bet. We have a journey, not the same, but it's kind of similar. If somebody lands on our support page, we'll push an automated message from our head of product asking them if they found what they were looking for on our product page. And the number of awesome responses we get back from that is just insane. So it's like asking those questions at the right time based on behavior to get that answer back. It's awesome what kind of gems come out.
Yeah, and I actually don't think it's that complex. You just kind of think about the pain points that your user might have and then do something custom. But one little thing that I do is whenever I set up a new journey, myself and Nico who works with me, we make ourselves the reply to. And now with 100,000 users, you can imagine that's dumb.
I rethink that.
But it's so important. Like, I've got to tell you, because it either makes your day or makes you better. Where we get these responses where, like, we have one for the FAQ page for how to share with a friend. So if you visit the FAQ page and within 2 days you haven't shared, then like we didn't accomplish our goal or whatever it would be. It's like I'm the reply to, and like you get people who are blunt, but then you can actually fix it. And then we'll make it, it goes to support whatever it might be. But especially our churn emails for folks who would take like 100 trips and then bail, like just when they write back and they're like, dude, I've been sick of mono for a month. Like, that's a great moment for your brand to shine. Yeah. Truly, right? Where you can respond and be like, yo, I'm so sorry. Like, I sent you my automated journey, but I feel better.
Yeah. Nice. Well,
there's some real gems in there, though. We get a lot of really good insights.
Good. Cool. On that note, can you share with us like an awesome campaign that you've run through Autopilot that just stands out to you? If you can share results, that'd be awesome. But I know we're all shy around results, so I won't push you on it.
Yeah, no, happy to. So one of the like crown jewel things that we did was essentially we had one of these UX sprints, and basically it was about activation. So activation is determined for us if someone who downloaded the app scheduled their first trip. So you activate it essentially, right? Product comes to us, they're basically like, hey, a great example is like we do a lot of ice cream trucks, okay? Where Scoop is not an ice cream on the minute. But the idea is we'll do this event, we'll get like 300 people to come out at lunchtime, they all download the app to get a free scoop of ice cream, okay? Probably not the most qualified user base on Earth, right? But one that's like really salient because it's like people who heard about it, saw the brand, had a great interaction, got something really cool. And so activation rate was something where like they download and then maybe they turn off push notifications and like they're lost, right? Like they're out from a product perspective. And so activation was a place where marketing could come in and get really savvy with Autopilot and basically say, hey, what is that journey looking like? And so this is what I talk about all the time, because if you're thinking, I would go to your product person, go to your sales person, go to your CEO and say, what's the metric that keeps you up at night? And for us, about maybe a year ago, it was activation. It was like, we're spending all this money on the ice cream truck, we're doing all this stuff on email journeys or whatever, emails to employers, but then people aren't scheduling their first trip. So like, here's what we did. So the first thing that we did was we did a huge survey, basically easy stuff, Google surveys, whatever, right? Emailed a ton of people who hit the criteria that had downloaded the app but had never scheduled for more than 10 days because we knew the flow down rate of, sometimes it takes you a week to schedule your first trip, like you probably have mono or whatever. And so basically we reached out to those users, automated form, bam, click on it, whatever, tell us why you haven't scheduled your first trip. You get a hit list of basically the top 10 reasons people aren't activating on your product. Then you build a journey that basically solves those things. So like, I didn't have good pieces of content around, is Scoop safe? I didn't have good pieces of content around like, tried to schedule but got really confused. And so you can't bank on users to email support or try 30 times. So long story short, we build out this journey that goes for 25 days. And essentially what it does is when we welcome in all the way up to day 25, it looks at those pain points and tries to reduce them. So it's a combination of emails that are in autopilot, SMSs that are in autopilot, which is a whole other story, but like texts can be used sparingly but very, very well. Like the click-through rates on a blog post and SMS would blow your mind because it's right in front of you. SMS is at a 98% open rate, right? You say, hey, you haven't scheduled in a few days, let us help. Here's a blog post. Like double-digit click-through rates, right? So that's really interesting. And then off the back of that, right, then you can send something else, because you can just fill out your journey on your whiteboard. But basically, so we build out this huge thing. It also has pushes that are layered in it as well with the text, so on and so forth. If you go through that barrage of communications and on day 25 you haven't scheduled, then there's a survey that comes from our CEO, right, that basically says, hey, this is Rob. You gave commuting a chance, and you heard about us from insert dynamic variable, right? And like, okay, I mean, great with you from dash chromosome, dash chromosome, something. And oh my God, when a user responds to your point from before, when a user responds and it's like, hey Rob, thanks for taking time out of your day to touch base. Man, like, you're doing something right. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, the survey results on day 25 of activation are mind blowing. Because essentially, right, either people signed up for something because they just want the free ice cream, cool, right? Or they have real problems that are holding them back, right? Then you can refresh. So basically, Nico and I and Mark and my team, we are always looking at the activation journey, and then we do tests like, let's look at the activation journey and send the first few emails not with 3-day delays, but with 1-day delays, and let's see if we can close the time zone, right? Or you just kind of like throw your finger together. Yeah. And you basically do something. But to get back to your point after the script, and sorry, Lord of the Rings answer.
That's good.
Basically, it was like one aligning on the key variables so everyone knew what my team was working on. Churn wasn't a focus, active, whatever, right? So that everyone's aligned on what you're going through. And literally by like the end of that week, we had it all on the board. Everybody agreed. Then on Monday, we got the copy. Everyone signed off on it. Then we loaded it and it started with a big swing. And so now the smarter tests are about those time delays and the lags and bringing what you've done in the product. But I mean, we moved activation rate like very substantially. Like I can't express to you, it's probably why I still have a job. Like, because it was just this huge delta where product couldn't touch, and I think we were related to users in the way that they needed to be related to.
Nice.
So.
That's awesome. Well, I was going to ask you a follow-up question, like what gets you excited about Autopilot, but I feel like there's a ton of stuff that you've already talked about that gets you excited. So I'll flip it, and probably not supposed to do this, but what's missing in Autopilot? What are you kind of hoping for and dreaming of and, getting excited about to come hopefully in the future?
Yeah, a higher stage. It's a joke.
We're there, that's why it's so fun.
But, yeah, so really quick though, the stuff that's good about Autopilot, and like this is, I think, salient. Like Autopilot's a tool. Autopilot's the pen. But like if you don't know cursive, like you're screwed. Okay? So like essentially to break that down, I feel like the learnings that my team had to do was essentially like really being able to whiteboard that out. I feel like when I've interviewed candidates for like the roles in lifecycle marketing and stuff, like a lot of people can't even pick up a pen. You can't pick up a pen, like it doesn't matter, your tool's amazing. But to be honest, like Autopilot's great, like I'm on board, that's why I'm here. But like if you don't have a strategy layer behind it to go and find out what's bothering your users, then like you're not gonna make anything and it doesn't matter. So I think that's why like Autopilot was right for us, because literally I have trained partner success managers on Autopilot so that she can do a survey for Intel and she can do it. Like, good luck with Marketo, like, good luck with systems where she gets scared, right? But for us, like, it's really cool because Autopilot has empowered many, many people around our company to do things, which I think is great at a startup where, like, if you can teach someone to fish, way better than fishing yourself because you've got enough nets to cast. Analogy. And, so, it's going to be coy about it. But the idea, though, of what could be better in Autopilot is, so we run MailChimp before, essentially, and MailChimp has like some pretty sick A/B testing stuff if you use MailChimp now, where basically it's like, start with 20%, have a holdover group, best headline goes out to the rest of the 80%. That's like very valuable. Like, Autopilot, it's just difficult.
We
like,
have A/B split testing, but you have to go in and manually add that winning email.
So it's just another layer. Every platform is a trade-off, right? I mean, there's one group who came in and sold to us to get us off of Autopilot, and their big thing was the templates, right? For us, like, we have pretty good templates, they're smooth, we found a really cool way to hack it thanks to Hadley, and like, we're golden. But if I was Converse or whatever, and the brand image on every browser mattered, you know, it would do that. So I think A/B testing for me is what I'm excited about, and everybody's working on it. Before that, like 3 months ago, my answer would have been Insights. And then Insights is essentially what you were talking about before, where it's like, you start on X segment, we want to get them on Y segment, how many people converted. I was doing that before with VLOOKUPs in Excel, where basically it was like, Bob started on X list, and now he's on Y list, success. That's just, like, Insights makes that a lot easier.
Nice.
So I know.
Good. Well, the good news is that the email editor is definitely something we're working on. So stay tuned, everyone in the room. Don't know when exactly yet, but definitely, I mean, it's a huge initiative for us as a company. So we're working on it. Bear with us, but the result will be phenomenal, and I trust it'll be worth the wait. A/B split testing, I absolutely hear that from other customers as well. So this is what we love at Autopilot. We want your feedback. You know, our product is to help the everyday marketer be as remarkable as they can be as a marketer. And so really want to hear from you guys about how a product can help you to do your job better. So any feedback you have, send it our way. And believe me, we're on the email editor and the A/B split testing. But anything else, come and chat to us. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are good about it. There's like a list of all the top features, and they seem to vote them up. So if it doesn't win, it's just not the most wanted thing. Just a democracy.
Yeah, we're working on some good things under the hood, so stay tuned. But I mean, I guess one of my last questions: what does the future of marketing look like for Scoop?
For Scoop specifically, so I mean, right now we're in the Bay Area, and we're also in Seattle, which is really exciting. And for us, it's really about scaling out to different geographies where other people are struggling with their commute, and where competitive employers want to empower the people that come to work every day. So it's actually pretty simple, which is nice. We have a good roadmap. And the reason why we've been around for 2.5 years, and we've only been in the Bay Area and Seattle to really get the model right. I mean, it's a very interesting thing to match people every day. Consumers have, the bar for consumers is insane, right? When we're used to Lyft in like 3 minutes, man, and then you don't get matched in a carpool, like that's going to be a little bit jolting for folks. And so for us, we really have to get the model right where you can reach kind of what we call like market liquidity, so you can match all the time and people have a great experience, and really building out these flows. And then I can't express enough, when you have these flows and then you drop new users into them who never knew about a paradigm without that, like then it's amazing that your activation rate, you're just golden, you're just building on top of the house you built. So future of marketing for Scoop is actually really taking notes from Lattice's presentation. Really, now I want to do this on the HR buyer side, because now we've kind of done the base. Now we're starting to go to events where we get 50, 100 leads, and our sales team can't handle that. So we were spoiled before, and now it's funny to see how he's built out that side of the house, and now we kind of need to switch, right? We're going to need to use the product more, but for us, it's just really consumer experience first, and that's it.
Nice.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. And then last question before I open it up to the audience. If you were new to Autopilot or if you were a new user, what would your advice be to yourself as a new user? Is this something people should try? Is this something they should do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your business and what like the goals of your business are. Like everything's a trade-off, and it depends. Like if you have a head of product coming to you about growth metrics that you need to change your marketing touch points, like yeah, do this tomorrow. But if you have someone who needs a really nice brand video, like probably don't do anything I've said. So for us, it's that balance. But like we don't have really sexy assets because this was the main focus, and now we're moving on to other things and having a greater presence and such. But I think to me, if I was a marketer doing this, it would be that sit down with all of your stakeholders. What metrics matter? What's good for this quarter? What's not? And what can we do? And map that out and basically show them. And the funny thing is, like Autopilot helps because I can open up Autopilot for my head of product and you can instantly get it. And like that's a really good thing because it's based on drop downs and stuff. You have to explain it to everyone who pops in there, so on and so forth. Like that's really valuable. I've popped up in front of engineers just some of our journeys, and they're instantly like, "Oh, so someone goes through this, and then goes through this, and then they get this." Awesome, really cool. Do you know what I mean? And that's invaluable from like a cross company perspective, so people think that you're like intelligent. Which is really important to show the sophistication behind it and to track your impact. So I'm touching on a lot of different things, but the fact that I can open the Insights tab, not do a big lookup, and say, hey, activation rate on this journey is X% because of everything that we've done, like that's really valuable. You prove your worth really quick. I can't imagine with your tracking, when you can say that Facebook did X, Y, like, game over, it's so good, you're not missing a bit. But, so yeah, that's what I would do. I would literally find the key metric that matters for your business. I would find a group of users who haven't done that key metric. I would send them a Google survey tomorrow, basically. Make yourself a reply to. I would read through all the answers and I would free write as one of the answers so that the people who want to go deep will actually go deep. Then I would follow up and call 10 of them and actually get that extra layer of color that someone won't put in the survey. Often the $50 Starbucks gift card came over, people love that stuff, right? Then basically come back with your top 10 reasons why people aren't doing X, and then be like, I'm focusing on the top 3, here's my journey, let's roll. And you can do that. You can set it up in Autopilot in 10 minutes. To do the thoughtful strategy behind it, it's going to take you a little longer, but that's what I would do. And then my quick little hacks really are, so Mel Bakery is this company, it's called mailbakery.com, and they do HTML templates basically off of sketch files. And so what I mean by that is, Sketch is like a format Photoshop, basically. Yeah. It's probably not on brand, but for them. But so Sketch is cool because basically it's really basic, and what we did was we had our designer make some templates in Sketch. My designer doesn't really know HTML, so we had this. I was using really bad templates that were breaking all the time. I was in litmus all the time. It was just like really kind of a nightmare. And basically, you can send those sketch files to Mail Bakery, and for very cheap. Like I'm not talking thousands, I'm talking hundreds, right? They made like 8 templates that we wanted. And then they had to kind of learn the Autopilot language, but these are editable, so other members of your team can go in and change stuff without you always making sure that it renders correctly. So like, that has saved us hours upon hours, and we still have our hiccups like anybody does. HTML changes, the iPhone 10 comes out, things go crazy, but mailbakery.com has been really nice, and that was happy suggestion because as Eloise...
Big shout outs.
Like her hair looked great. But like, we couldn't afford, at that moment, to spend $2,000 on an HTML template was just not an option, and I didn't want to upwork it and get something back that only worked on half of our browsers. So there's ways around it. So that's the flavor.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to open up to the audience. I bet you guys have a ton of questions, so let's hear them. Yeah? Well, we covered a lot. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I got you.
Thanks, man.
I was just curious. I've never used your product, but I use it my first time and I find a driver that takes me to my job. Why can't I just talk to them and just take me for the rest of the day?
Yeah, so great question. So basically, if you didn't hear it, essentially, if I find a perfect fellow carpooler who works at my company and they're awesome, like, wouldn't I just bail really quick? And the reason we have not seen that played out in the data, and it is one of the questions investors in the early days always ask, like, oh, people find their match and they're gone.
I'm not an investor.
That's true, but if you want to be. So, the funny thing is that, like,
the nature of carpooling is that people's schedules are constantly changing. And here's the funny thing, like yesterday you left at 5:30, maybe tonight you're leaving at 6:30, this is a little bit later. It doesn't really work. Like traditional carpooling where people are on set schedules maybe works if you're like factory worker, which is totally kosher. But with us, that just doesn't transpire. So people don't go off platform. I'm sure it's happened, but because of the ever-changing nature of schedules, that's one. Two, it's really awkward to give someone $2 or $3 for your payment to your driver. And we heard time and time again in initial user surveys, like, this is really cool because like I hook up my credit card and like I don't have to give Bob 75 cents. People who do casual carpool site does one of the most awkward things, like, is it $1 or $2? And you're just like, you're like, it's just weird. Three, this is the biggest one. If your company is helping with the program with the costs, the only way to get that benefit is to be on the Scoop platform. So essentially, like for you to get those discounts, it just doesn't make sense. So if you're a driver and your company gives you $3 extra for every drive that you do because they're trying to get more people to drive, you get the idea. You wouldn't go off platform. So we haven't seen it, which is really awesome.
How is your approach to these company partnerships where you basically became like an internal benefit? Was that difficult, or was it just the offer so good that they were like, yeah?
It wasn't the latter. It was definitely, it's a mix. It's a mix. And if you know much about HR buyers, there are HR buyers on the side of the fence who basically will offer almost anything to their employees because they want to be competitive and they want to showcase how many benefits they have. And that's really awesome. A lot of those companies are in the Bay Area, thankfully, right? And in places like Seattle and such. And so our first client, our first partner was Workday. And Workday, is huge in the HR space. And basically was like, people hate the commute. We've heard that people are leaving, and they're really in touch with those metrics. As you go to other places in the country where they don't view the commute inside their purview, you're going to struggle more. So we have sales that are really easy, and then we have sales which are tougher and have multiple stakeholders, where you have someone from sustainability in the room who's all about like LEED certified platinum stuff. Then you have people from facilities. Like to build, this might blow your mind, to build a parking spot in the Bay Area is $30,000. Okay, because real estate is so expensive. So basically, you look at us and you look at our partnership deals, and you're like, wait a second, I can like cut my solo occupancy vehicles in half. $30,000, that's a lot of spaces. So we have partners, which I'll leave them unnamed, but the one who has more employees than spaces. So like they're just looking for any reason to do that. So to answer your question, basically the sales is very different. It's very dynamic. That's why we have amazing salespeople who can really customize accordingly. And as we go into different geographies, like in Arkansas, where like real estate probably isn't as expensive, it's going to be a much different story. But I think it's my job as head of marketing and my talented team to basically say, how does this do the same thing that like free lunch did? Where free lunch 15 years ago, it's like, you gotta be kidding. Subway's fine for Jeff. Like, he goes down the street, it's awesome. And now it's like, no, like, we want to sit in the cafeteria, we're going to use Eat Club or Workable or whatever these things are. And that now is, it's called Workable, I didn't make that up, by the way. But yeah, to get that into their purview where they're like, why are we not solving for the commute? And that's a really cool story shift. Yeah, no worries.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you guys are using SMS. It's pretty crazy to compare that response rate against email, and I feel like SMS is a really untapped channel for marketers today. Like, you mentioned using it sparingly. Like, what are some instances where it's appropriate to use SMS, and do you have any advice about using it in marketing?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about the legality of SMS, and basically we've built into our terms and conditions, right, that we have the ability to text users, and we take it insanely seriously when someone responds with no, or when they email our support team and say that they don't want this, and in the app you can turn that stuff off. Because that is like, that's literally like you've got like your mom, your girlfriend, and Scoop. Like it's a big deal, right? But, and the open rate is the one that's insane, and the click-through rate is great because I think we're providing good content at that moment. But in the very early days, we had, especially engineers were like, you're texting people, and with us it was like, I wrote this doc, and I was like, we will only text people once a month, max. If they say no, we will never text them again. Like, we're really hardcore about it, and we're really hardcore about unsubscribes, all that kind of stuff. And so for us, it just made sense at that moment to send that message. And so I don't have any best practices besides like be respectful, and then also use it only when it really matters. Like, I'm not texting that we're closed on Thanksgiving. And that's a little bit extreme, but we really take that seriously because if you're using an app every day, like, those pushes can get to be a lot. And I think that, Nico's pushed us in a really solid way of like, when do you really need that message, and when do you want to test and see the impact? And when we do A/B splits for text versus no text, and there's no lift, like the text is out, so it's just not needed.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. We're trying.
Yeah,
Can I say one more thing?
of course.
We're hiring. Aggressively, I have 3 open roles on my team. If you thought that you might dig anything that we're doing, we have an open role for enterprise PMM, so that's like sales enablement, collateral, thought leadership, and a story that we're going to use. We have an open one for partner success marketing, which is basically working directly with our companies to help them scale their programs. And then we have a role open for basically like very similar work to this, so kind of looking for maybe a more junior candidate who come in, learn from Nico, who's a rock star beyond belief at this kind of stuff. And if you feel like joining the team and helping thousands and soon to be millions of people carpool, I would love to talk to you. It's Clavens at takescoop.com. Or David at takescoop.com and someone will forward to me.
we can vouch for yeah, I mean, Nico is fantastic at Autopilot. Hadley raves about chatting with Nico and working with him, so great person to work with. And yeah, hey, you get the benefit of using Autopilot, hopefully, if you join Scoop, so we're all for that.